Well, on behalf of Joe and Sarah and their families, I want to welcome you to just a beautiful night. And before you sit down, would you just join me in a word of prayer? Father God, thank you so much for tonight. This setting is incredible. These families are great, and this couple is outstanding. And Father, I just want to make sure that you know that you're welcome here tonight. I know that you're already here, that you're smiling upon this, you are singing over this night tonight. And we are just thrilled to be here with one another, and we're thrilled that you're here in our presence. So we ask your blessing on this wedding ceremony and this entire marriage right now, in Jesus' name. Amen. You can be seated. We are going to start with a reading.
Good evening. I think before I begin the reading, I'd like to give you a bit of context about what it is about. Sara and Joe have asked me to read something from The Little Prince. And The Little Prince, it's an allegorical tale about a pilot that ends up landing in the desert of North Africa. And he sets upon fixing his plane, stranded and alone. And he hears a tiny voice that asks him to draw a sheep, please. And he turns around, he's confronted by a little boy. And the little boy goes on to tell him that he's a prince from an asteroid. And he has set out upon his travels and his journeys to understand his rose. Because back on the asteroid he left, there was a rose that he sheltered and he watered and he cared for. And he set out on a journey to learn something more about his rose. And the place he came to was Earth. This is one of those stories, and it's a story of his meeting a fox and the secret the fox shared with him. "Come and play with me," proposed the little prince. "I am so unhappy." "I cannot play with you," the fox said. "I am not tamed." "What does that mean, tame?" "It is an act too often neglected," said the fox. "It means to establish ties. To me, you are still nothing more than a little boy who is just like 100,000 other little boys. And I have no need of you. And you, on your part, have no need of me. To you, I am nothing more than a fox like 100,000 other foxes. But if you tame me, then we shall need each other. To me, you will be unique in all the world. To you, I shall be unique in all the world. If you tame me, it will be as if the sun came to shine on my life. I shall know the sound of a step that will be different from all others. Other steps send me hurrying back underneath the ground. Yours will call me like music out of my burrow. Think how wonderful that will be when you have tamed me. Only one understands the things that one tames. If you want a friend, tame me." "And what must I do to tame you?" asked the little prince. "You must be patient," replied the fox. "First, you will sit down a little distance from me, like that, in the grass. I shall look at you out of the corner of my eye, and you will say nothing. Words are a source of great misunderstandings. But if you will sit a little closer to me every day, and you must come back at the same hour. If, for example, you come at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then at 3 o'clock I shall begin to be happy. I shall feel happier and happier as the hour advances. At 4 o'clock, I shall already be worrying and jumping about. I shall show you how happy I am. But if you come just at any time, I shall never know at what hour my heart is to be ready to greet you. One must observe the proper rites." "What is a rite?" asked the prince. "They are what make one day different from other days, one hour from other hours." And so the prince tamed the fox. And one day, the little prince was out walking, and he saw a garden of 1,000 roses, and he said, "You are not at all like my rose. As yet you are nothing. No one has tamed you, and you have tamed no one. You are like my fox when I first knew him. He was only a fox like 100,000 other foxes, but I have made him my friend, and now he is unique in all the world. You are beautiful, but you are empty," he went on. "One could not die for you. To be sure, an ordinary passerby would think that my rose looked just like you, the rose that belongs to me. But in herself alone, she is more important than all the hundreds of you other roses, because it is she that I have watered, because it is she that I have sheltered, because it is she that I have listened to when she grumbled or boasted, and even sometimes when she said nothing, because she is my rose. And he went back to meet the fox. Goodbye, he said. Goodbye, said the fox. And now here's my secret, a very simple secret. Now I have to take a moment here because the original book is in French. And I think just out of kindness to the author and the woman I love, I'd like to say it in French. On ne vit bien qu'avec la cœur, l'essentiel est invisible pour les yeux, which means, it is only with the heart that one can truly see. What is essential is invisible to the eye. It is the time you have wasted for your rose that makes your rose so important. You become responsible forever for what you have tamed. You are responsible for your rose. Thank you.
Well, pardon me, I've had the pleasure of getting to know both Joe and Sara over the last several months. I hadn't met them until they called me and talked to me about doing the ceremony tonight. And that's always one of my greatest joys as being a pastor, is getting to know the couples before I perform their ceremony for them. So I've had a good time getting to know them. And as you closest to them know, and probably most of you know here who are close to them, this is one sweet couple. Aren't they great? In fact, why don't you just give them a round of applause right now? Their spirit is so gentle, and they seem to be so kind, and I have great hopes in their marriage, just to the way they treat each other, and I'm sure they treat other people. And so thanks, guys, for letting me be a part of your life right now. I wanted to share a few moments first with your guests, and then I'm going to give you some last words of wisdom. Not that you'll be listening, but maybe on the video you can listen to it someday. Our culture has changed so much just since I got married 30 years ago. And today, marriage, surprisingly to me, is a scary thing for young people. And I can see that when I do the marriage counseling, that there is some fear and trepidation as they approach it. And I think for many years, couples took marriage for granted. They assumed that they were just going to find that person of their dreams. They'd fall in love, they'd get married, and life, they'd go on to live life happily ever after. And through the course of time, we've seen that that's not necessarily true, that there is risk involved in marriage. And I think young couples know today better than I did when I got married. I just kind of stumbled into it thinking the blissful things. But I think young couples today realize that there is a lot of risk involved. I asked a group of young people not too long ago what they thought of marriage, and I was, quite honestly, I was shocked to hear that they were scared to death of marriage. That was the term they used. And they said they were scared of it because of the bad marriages that they had seen, the failures that they had seen. And that's why most of them that I was talking to that day, they were living with their partner and they were not married. And so for me, it was just a window into the culture, the youth of today, and how they view something that was totally foreign to me. And I was surprised to see the level of doubt and the level of fear and the level of cynicism that they held towards marriage. But then there's love. And love is an amazing thing. Love can overcome all those things that I just mentioned, the cynicism and the doubt and the fear. And it compels young couples to risk. And even though I've seen some fear in the eyes of Joe and Sara, they are compelled by their love for each other to take this risk. And I'm just proud of you for doing that. Many people don't. Many people hang back, and they're so afraid of it. They let their fear really rob them of what I think is one of the greatest gifts that God has for us. So good job, guys, in doing that and moving forward with marriage. It's a wise thing. And now to you, I just wanted to share some of those words of wisdom that I think, as I step back, like I said, I'm a little bit of an expert with 30 years behind me, not an expert, but a little bit, of maybe some of the things that have held my marriage together, but I think are true for all marriages. What will make your marriage last? And I have 4 things here. And for me, putting God at the center of your marriage will help make your marriage last. There's a verse that has been kind of a life verse for me, and that is out of the book of Proverbs that says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and don't lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths." And so that's my first recommendation, to put God at the center of your marriage. The second thing is to follow the model of love. that God gave us. The Bible tells us to forgive the one who does wrong, just as Christ has forgiven you. And the model that God gave us is that when he came into the world, he came into the world to not to judge us, but to forgive us. And so there's going to be a lot of errors. I'm sure there already has been, but trust me, once something magical about getting married, the errors increase right after marriage. At least maybe you see them. They were always there, you just didn't see them until after marriage. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity to forgive. And I just encourage you that when the temptation comes to judge and to criticize and to reject, that you do what God did towards us, and that is to forgive us and to accept us unconditionally. The third thing is that will make your marriage last is to work on your marriage every day. You know, you've done a good job. These two like to read, librarians, right? So they like to read, and they were a treat to go. I go through a book with all the couples, and they read that, and good job again. But continue to work on your marriage every day. Everything on the planet needs maintenance. If you don't tend to your house, the roof will leak. If you don't tend to the car, it won't start. And if you don't work on your marriage every day, it'll break down as well. So I just encourage you to tend to that. And finally, I want to encourage you to believe in each other. To believe in each other. The Bible tells us that love believes all things. There's a story, and you probably know it better than I do, about Nathaniel Hawthorne. And his wife, Sophia, when he first got started, before he was writing and became a published author, he was let go from his job, and he came home heartbroken. And he was despondent, and his wife said, "Great, now you can write that book that you've always wanted to write." And he discounted that. He thought that was foolish, that she would say such a thing. He needed money. They didn't have any money, and he was concerned about that. And she said, "Oh, but we do have money." And she went to her top drawer, and she pulled out a box where she had been setting aside money for the last year. And he was amazed, and he said, "Where did you get that?" And listen to what she said. She said, "I have always known you were a man of genius. I knew that someday you would write a masterpiece. So every week, out of the money you gave me for housekeeping, I saved a little bit. So here is enough to last us for one whole year." Sophia believed in her husband. She believed in her husband. And because she believed in her husband, he was able to write one of the greatest novels, The Scarlet Letter. And Joe and Sarah, I just want to encourage you to not only believe in God, but to believe in each other. And who knows what God will have for both of you. I don't know if there's books inside of you, maybe there are. But there's great things inside of both of you. And if you believe in each other, and if you believe in God, I think we'll see those things. Okay. Let me talk to your audience again, your guests. In a marriage ceremony is really an ancient ritual. It's a covenant ceremony. And you have a very specific role here. A covenant is something that lasts a lifetime. It's different than a contract. A contract just lasts a very brief time until something has been accomplished. But a covenant lasts for life. And ever since thousands and thousands of years ago, covenants were distinct because they were unto death. And one of the things you would do, because it was such a serious commitment between two people or two tribes, whatever the situation might be, that they would always gather witnesses to witness the vows that were being made for this covenant. So you may not realize why you came tonight. You may think you came just to celebrate this union, but really you have a very official purpose in being here, and that is to be witnesses and to hold them accountable to the vows that they're keeping with each other. Okay? So it's not over tonight. It's not over with the cheesecake tonight at the game club, but it's a lifetime that you'll stand with them and say, "I remember, I was there, I heard the commitments that you made, the vows that you made to each other." So I hope you'll stand with them in reminding them of the vows that they make tonight. So I think I'm going to ask you to, maybe you can pass off the flowers, and if you'd face each other so that your guests can see you a little bit. And maybe if you could get a little bit closer to me, because my microphone cannot move, unfortunately.
Okay.
But that way they can maybe hear you. All right? So, Joe, I'm going to start with you. And the first part is very easy because all you have to do is say, "I will," at the appropriate time. All right? Okay. That's the hard part. When you're nervous, you might miss it. I'll forgive you in advance for missing it. But let me just say the vows, and then I'll let you know when to say "I will," okay?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you can hold hands. And you can breathe, all right? Okay. I don't know if Joe's breathed yet. All right. Okay, so Joe, if you agree with the vows I'm about to read, say I will. Joe, will you take Sara as your wife? Will you promise to be faithful to her, seeking to understand and care for her? Will you love her, honor her, and serve her when she is sick and when she is well? Will you abandon everyone else and abandon everything else for her benefit as long as God gives you life or until the Lord returns?
I will.
Okay. And Sara, I'm going to ask you the very same thing. Sara, will you take Joe as your husband? Will you promise to be faithful to him, seeking to understand him and care for him? Will you love him, honor him, and serve him when he is sick and when he is well? Will you abandon everyone else and abandon everything else for his benefit as long as God gives you life or until the Lord returns?
I will.
Okay. Now, Joe, it gets harder because now you have to repeat after me.
Okay.
You definitely have to breathe now.
Okay.
Okay. So repeat after me. Sara, I love you.
Sara, I love you.
And because of my love for you,
And because of my love for you,
and because I believe
and because I believe
that God has brought us together,
that God has brought us together,
I, Joe, take you,
I, Joe, take you,
Sara,
Sara,
sorry, to be my wife,
to be my wife,
to have and to hold,
to have and to hold,
from this day forward,
from this day forward,
for better or for worse,
for better or for worse,
for richer or for poorer,
for richer or for poorer,
in sickness and in health,
in sickness and in health,
to love, honor, and respect you,
to love, honor, and respect you,
as long as we both shall live.
as long as we both shall live.
And Sara, I'd like you to repeat after me as well. Joe, I love you.
Joe, I love you.
And because of my love for you,
And because of my love for you,
and because I believe
and because I believe
that God has brought us together,
that God has brought us together,
I, Sara,
I, Sara,
take you, Joe,
take you, Joe,
to be my husband,
to be my husband,
to have and to hold,
to have and to hold,
from this day forward,
from this day forward,
for better or for worse,
for better or for worse,
for richer or for poorer,
for richer or for poor,
in sickness and in health,
in sickness and in health,
to love, honor, and respect you,
to love, honor, and respect you,
as long as we both shall live.
as long as we both shall live.
Okay, good job. Well, in our culture, to signify the covenant, we exchange rings. And so I'm going to ask you both if you have a ring to symbolize your covenant.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm going to start with you, Joe. If you'd start to place this on Sarah's ring finger, ring. And repeat after me. Sara, I give you this ring
Sara, I give you this ring
as a token of my love and devotion to you.
as a token of my love and devotion to you.
I pledge to you all that I am
I pledge to you all that I am,
and all that I will ever be as your husband.
and all that I will ever be as your husband.
With this ring,
With this ring,
I gladly marry you
I gladly marry you
and join my life to yours.
and join my life to yours.
And Sara, you have your ring there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then repeat after me. Joe, I give you this ring
Joe, I give you this ring
as a token of my love
as a token of my love
and devotion to you.
and devotion to you.
I pledge to you all that I am
I pledge to you all that I am
and all that I will ever be as your wife.
and all that I will ever be as your wife.
With this ring,
With this ring,
I gladly marry you
I gladly marry you
and join my life to yours.
and join my life to yours.
Okay. I'm going to ask the musicians to play, and these two are going to light the unity candle. And one thing I'd like to mention about the unity candle, there's a couple traditions, and one is that the candles are lit, and then they're blown out when the unity candle is lit, signifying that they are now have become one. There's another tradition where the original candles remain lit, signifying that they have become one, but they haven't lost their identity. And Joe and Sara have chosen to let the candles remain lit. Okay, just so you understand.
Come away with me in the night. Come away with me, and I will write you a song. Come away with me on a bus. Come away with me.
I'm going to ask you to join me in a word of prayer, asking a blessing on this couple. Just come over closer. Father God, again, I just thank you for this wonderful couple. I thank you how you've birthed that gentle spirit that I spoke of earlier, the kindness, the love that they have for one another. You've started something very beautiful here. And I pray, God, that you would nurture that on their behalf, that you would stand with them, that they would see that you are with them, and that you will help nurture that and breathe upon that and bring life and health and strength to this relationship. As I mentioned, God, with the guests here, family and friends, that they would stand with them, that they would strengthen them, that they would pray for them, that they would bring words of encouragement at the right time, that they would remember significant moments in their married life to stand with them. And God, I ask that your Spirit would be upon them in a great way to develop them and to lead them into the future. Like I said, the verse I quoted, might they trust in you with all their hearts. God, I know that you'll go before them, leading them and guiding them. I thank you for that. And now, may the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. What God has brought together, let no one separate. So Joe and Sara, based on your vows to one another and the authority given to me by the state of Wisconsin, I pronounce you husband and wife, and we're going to let you kiss. The ushers will come down and release you, and if you're upstairs, you can just release yourself at any time and come down to meet them. Thanks for coming.